multi-step conversions. So a multi-step conversion occurs when more than one conversion is needed to solve. So it's very similar to the last video, except we might have to do 2 or more conversions to get from what we're starting out with to then express it in an entirely different way. So let's go ahead and look. Example 1. A patient weighs 52 kilograms. Convert 52 kilograms to ounces. So what do we know about kilograms, right? We know kilograms. We know a conversion between kilograms to pounds. So as we notice, this is in the metric system, and ounces is in, right, the US, right, system. So we're going to do a conversion between the two. So we know 2.20 pounds is equal to 1 kilogram. So we know pounds, like 1 pound, is equal to 16 ounces, right? And so here's a little of a roadmap in order for us to go from kilograms to ounces. So we start with 52 kilograms. We're going to put that on top. The first conversion, right, we're going to have 1 kilograms and 2.2 pounds because we need to get rid of the kilograms. So we're going to go ahead and put the kilograms on the bottom and then the 2.20 pounds on the top. And then we would go ahead and try to get rid of the pounds, right? Because we got rid of kilograms and we have pounds on the top, but we actually need it to be, right, ounces. So ounces, so we can go 1 pound to 16 ounces. And then we can go ahead and cross out that. So what are we left with? We're left with just ounces on the top. And so we would multiply what's on the top. We would go 52 times 2.20 times 16. And then on the bottom, we just multiply that. So on the bottom, we're left with just 1, right? And there's no units. Then on the top, we just get our calculator out. 52 times 2.20 times 16. And what are we left with? Left with 1,830.4 ounces. And so when we really just rewrite this, we can just write it like this. And that would be our solution. So example 2. So while on a drive in Canada, you notice a road sign that says 150 kilometers until the next town. So convert 150 kilometers to miles to kind of put that in perspective if you're used to miles, right? So we're starting with 150 kilometers. And we need to get to miles. So let's go ahead and start dealing with our relationships. Well, if we look at our conversion sheet, what do we know about kilometers? Well, we know 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. So that's important. So if we know 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters, let's keep going with the meters. So now we have meters. Well, what else do we know? Well, we know 100 centimeters is equal to 1 meter. Right, so centimeters are a much smaller unit than meters, so 100 centimeters is equal to 1 meter. And why did I go to centimeters? Well, the reason is, and this is something you really should know, is that 2.54 centimeters is equal to 1 inch. So this is our way to go from metric system to our SI units. So this is the most important, probably one of the most important conversion rates to know. So if we know that, let's look back. If we can go from kilometers to meters, meters to centimeters, and then centimeters to inches, we're getting closer to than miles, because miles is in the SI units. So what do we know? We know that 12 inches is equal to 1 foot, so we just went from feet. So we just went from inches to feet, and now we need to go feet to miles. We know that 5,280 feet is equal to 1 mile. Now, if you are unsure about where to go with all of this, start writing out just these kind of conversions, and then you can kind of see which ones you're going to need, right? And once you do this long enough, you'll kind of get a sense for this. And so it's just going to take practice. So now we can go ahead and now set it all up, right? Because we notice that we're having to go from kilometers to meters to centimeters to inches, right? To feet to miles. So we have a multi-step process here. So let's go ahead and start there. So if we know, right, 150 kilometers is what we're starting with, let's go ahead and use this. So we're going to put the 1 kilometer on the bottom and the 1,000 meters on the top. Then we're going to go ahead and take this 1 meter, because we need to get this unit gone, right? So we just, whatever we do here, we're going to put that next unit on the bottom to get rid of it. We have this many steps. And then we're left with 100 centimeters on the top. So we did that one. Now if we need to get centimeters on the bottom, we're going to use the 2.54 centimeters to 1 inch. So we did that one. And then we have 12 inches is equal to 1 foot. And 5,280 feet is equal to 1 mile. And so we've set it up. And let's go ahead and look. So if we can get rid of kilometers here, we can get rid of meters. Then we can get rid of centimeters. We can get rid of inches. We can get rid of feet. And we're left with miles, which is exactly what we want. So now we can go ahead and now just go ahead and multiply. So we multiply what's on the top, and then we multiply what's on the bottom together. So let's go ahead and do that. There we go. Okay, so we can go 150 times 1,000 times 100 times 1 times 1 times 1, so that's just itself. And what do we get? Well, we got a really large number, right? So how many zeros are there? So 4, 5, 6. And then let's go ahead and then calculate what's on the bottom. We have 1 times 1, so that's just 1 times 2.54, and that's just 2.54 times 12 times 5,280, and we get also a very large number, right? .4. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take the top number and divide it by the bottom number. And what did we get? Well, we got 93.21. And this is in miles. So that's how far the next town is. So you can say 150 kilometers, or you can say about 93 miles. So that's how we can go from one to the other. Now let's do one final example. So example 3, we're going to convert 0.25 inches to millimeters. So this is going to be a little bit less than the last one. So if we're going from inches now to millimeters. And what's the most important conversion to know between our units to the metric system? Because anytime you see probably meters or anything like that, you know we're going into the metric system. So we need to know that 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters. So let's go ahead and let's think about this. So if we have 1 inch and 2.5 centimeters, well, that means we're getting really close to millimeters, right? So we know 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters. So we can go from inches then to centimeters, and then we can go from centimeters to millimeters. And what's the conversion between centimeters to millimeters? Well, we know 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeters. So now we've done all our conversions. Like, right, we're only going to use these two to go in order from inches to millimeters. So 0.25 inches, right? So let's go ahead and put the inches on the bottom, put 2.54 centimeters on the top. Then what's next, right? We need to get rid of centimeters. So we're going to go ahead and go 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeters on the top, right? So this is just our conversions that we're using. So now let's go ahead and cancel out. So we can get rid of inches, and we can get rid of centimeters. And we're left with millimeters, which is exactly what we want. So now we can just go ahead and multiply everything on the top. And then we notice that on the bottom is just 1 times 1. So it will just be 1 on the bottom. So we have 1.25 then times 2.54 times 10. And what do we get? We get 6.35 millimeters over 1. So we can just say we have 6.35 millimeters as our solution. So this is the same thing, right, as 0.25 inches. So if we were to say this, right, or this, these mean the exact same measurement. We just say it differently, right? In either millimeters or inches, it's just a different way to measure it.